Hey guys, welcome back to another news episode on Story TV. Today, we'll be discussing the following topics happening all around the world. China ambassador warns the UK about interfering in Hong Kong's dilemma. And Ennio Morricone, Oscar-winning Italian film composer, dies aged 91. So the first thing we're going to discuss is going to be the new developments of the COVID-19 here in Switzerland. So here in Switzerland, the official lockdown is over. The schools have opened again, but not for long since the summer holidays are just about to begin. The cases naturally have gone up, but not too much, peaking at around 150 a day. This was 2 days ago, but today, as of 7th July, we only had around 50 cases after the government issued the necessity of wearing masks whenever using public transport. Moving east, in India, things aren't looking too good, as the cases are exponentially growing day by day. Even during the lockdown, cases had risen drastically due to the lack of quarantining on the people's side. India has just now passed Russia in the amount of COVID-19 cases and are now in the third place for most amount of cases, behind Brazil and the USA respectively. In the last hour, India has amassed 22,252 cases, crossing the 700,000 mark, just 4 days after crossing the 600,000 landmark. Speaking about USA, in the United States of America, things are not looking good at all. As of today, the 7th of July, USA has just crossed the 3 million mark for the amount of cases in the country. They amassed around 50,000 cases in just 1 day, which is close to the record. Things remain grim in America as the death rates and the amount of cases grow at a linear rate. On a side note, Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro said Tuesday that he had tested positive for the COVID-19. Two of the US pharmaceutical companies said that they are closing in on drugs that could treat or even prevent COVID-19 within few months. China has warned the UK not to interfere with Hong Kong following the imposition by Beijing of a sweeping new national security law. Ambassador Liu Xiaoming said that the UK's offer of a path to citizenship for up to 3 million Hong Kongers amounted to gross interference. British Foreign Secretary Dominic Raab rejected the accusation. Opponents of the new law says it erodes Hong Kong's freedoms as a semi-autonomous region. The ambassador said a decision on exactly how Beijing intended to respond would be made once it knew the details. Mr. Liu also warned the UK that if it decided against using Chinese tech giants Huawei's technology to build its 5G network, this would send a very bad message to other Chinese businesses. The UK has argued that China has reneged on an agreement that took effect in 1997, which offered certain freedoms to Hong Kong for 50 years in return for handing the territory back to Beijing. Foreign Secretary Dominic Raab insisted that plan to allow millions of British nationals overseas to come to the UK did not represent interference in China's domestic affairs. We want a positive relationship with China, but the real issue here is one of trust and whether China can be trusted to live up to its international obligations and its international responsibilities, he said. That's the message that we are telegraphing along with many of our allies and indeed many international partners around the world, he goes on to say. Also in the news, authorities in China have stepped up precautions after a city in the Inner Mongolian Autonomous Region confirmed 1 case of the bubonic plague. Now remember, the bubonic plague was the plague that plagued Europe and much of the world in the 16th and 19th century. Bubonic plague was once the world's most fierce disease, but can now be easily treated. The first case was reported as a suspected bubonic plague on Saturday at a hospital in Urad Middle Banner in Bayernur City. It is not yet clear how or why the patient might have become infected. The second suspected case involves a 15-year-old who had apparently been in contact with a marmot hunted by a dog, a tweet from Global Times said. A level 3 alert which forbids the hunting and eating of animals that could carry the plague and calls on the public to report suspected cases has been put in place until the end of this year. Tragic news this week. Worldwide known film music componist Ennio Morricone, at 91 years old, has sadly passed away after having a tragic injury a few days prior. Morricone was once an Oscar-winning composer, having worked with famous directors, for example, Quentin Tarantino and more. For all movie fans, this was a sad end of an era of great film music. That's it for today, guys. I really hoped you enjoyed this episode of News Today. There's a lot happening around the world right now. I really hope that times get better as time goes on. See you guys.